Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Already done. Done, yeah. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 13th chapter, the appearance of Lord Varaha, text number 10. Etāvaty ātmajair vīra. Etāvaty ātmajair vīra. Kāryā apacitir gurau. Kāryā apacitir gurau. śaktyāpramattair gṛhyeta. śaktyāpramattair gṛhyeta. sādaraṁ gata-matsaraiḥ. sādaraṁ gata-matsaraiḥ. etāvaty ātmajair vīra. kāryā apacitir gurau. śaktyāpramattair gṛhyeta. sādaraṁ gata-matsaraiḥ. Ladies. Una más. Etāvatī. Just exactly like this. Ātmajair, by the offspring. Vīra, O hero. Kāryā, should be performed. He, certainly. apacitir, worship, gurau, unto the superior, śaktyā, with full capacity, apramattaiḥ, by the sane, gṛhyeta, should be accepted, sa-ādaram, with great delight, gata-matsaraiḥ, by those who are beyond the limit of envy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is Lord Brahma speaking to his son, Svāyambhuva Manu. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who is sane accepts the order of the father with great delight and executes it to his full capacity. Purport. When the four previous sons of Brahmā, the sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana and Sanat-kumāra, refused to obey their father, Brahmā was mortified, and his anger was manifested in the shape of Rudra. That incident was not forgotten by Brahmā, and therefore the obedience of Manu Svāyambhuva was very encouraging. From the material point of view, the four sages' disobedience to the order of their father was certainly abominable, but because such disobedience was for a higher purpose, they were free from the reaction of disobedience. Those who disobey their fathers on material grounds, however, are surely subjected to disciplinary reaction for such disobedience. Manu's obedience to his father on material grounds was certainly free from envy. And in the material world, it is imperative for ordinary men to follow the example of Manu. Etāvaty ātmajair vīra, kāryā apacitir gurau, śaktyāpramattair gṛhyeta, sādaraṁ gata-matsaraiḥ. O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. This sort of adoration for the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who is sane accepts the order of his father with great delight and executes it to his full capacity. Om ajñānatimirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Jayasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadam aham vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasundubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So with the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, here in this section, the secondary creation by Lord Brahma is described, and the chapter is entitled Appearance of Lord Varaha. So Brahma had created the four Kumaras, and they had disobeyed his instructions. So the topic is disobeying or obeying, and in which way do we relate with our authorities, and how to deal with conflicting instructions or conflicting multiple choices and being confused on how to proceed. I don't know if this resonates to any one of you. Okay, thank you Rameshwar Prabhu for representing all of us. So this shows how accurate the Bhagavatam is. Sometimes people think, oh, this is, stories from bygone ages, from the days of yore, when men were men and kings were kings. But we can see that this is very accurate. This is very relevant. We're all at crossroads. It's just the beginning of 2025, and we're thinking, okay, what's next, right? So I'll finish my little course here in Mayapur, and then what? So many options, so many different obligations, so many mandates, so many expectations. Which one to pursue? What's my priority? What's my hierarchy? So, it is stated here that Lord Brahmā was mortified by the disobedience of his sons, the four Kumaras. He had created this wonderful offspring, four Kumaras, most pure, most illustrious personalities. And naturally, as the creator, he had certain expectations, and he had a certain mandate for them. And what happened? They said, not going to do it. And they just went in a completely different direction. They just took off and said, not only we're not going to create progeny, we're going to stay 5-year-old little boys, we're going to wander around naked, and do as we please. Is that very pleasing to parents when their children tell that? We're just going to walk around naked and, just do what we want for the rest of eternity. So he was mortified. But it is explained that because they followed higher duties, they followed higher obligations, that's why they were free from the sin of disobedience. Devarshibutapta nirinam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam nirini jarajan sarvatmana yaksharanam sharanyam gato mukundam pariritya kartam. So, which basically says that there's so many obligations that we have to our forefathers, to the sages, to the demigods, but if we actually fulfill our obligation to Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that supersedes all these obligations. Not only it supersedes, it includes all these obligations. That's why sometimes when people hear sarvadharman parityaja, they think like, wow, this is really great. Let's give up all the rules. Does that sound nice? I was in Iceland, and after a public program, one old hippie lady, she ran up to me and she wanted to give me a bear hug. You know what a bear hug is? Like this. And I made the martial arts move that I learned from my spiritual master. You want to know what the most powerful martial arts move is? Would you like to know? Yes. Thank you for your enthusiasm for martial arts. You have to have a little bit more of enthusiasm for martial arts. Okay, you learn everything in Bhagavatam class. Okay, are you ready? Yes. Okay. So, the most powerful martial arts move is like this. Can you do like this? Go like this. But then, it all works by mantra. So you have to say the mantra also. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And I went like this. And she came. Hare Krishna. And then she said, no rules! And she ran out the door. So, no rules is a very popular mantra. So when people hear sarvadharma parityaja, they think, this is wonderful. And then the next line goes, Mamekam sharanam vraja. You fully surrender unto me, Krishna says. So the first part looks great, right? The second part, not so sure about the full surrender part. So we'll talk a little bit more about full surrender. We're getting there. And I saw my spiritual master do this most powerful of all martial arts moves in a public program where also one lady came up to him and wanted to give him a bear hug, and he did the same. And she said, you changed my life. And he said, you almost changed my life. So, Obedience is not a very popular topic in this day and age because individuality and doing your own thing is pretty much en vogue. It's the current of the day. People are trying to be unique. They're trying to be distinct, trying to be special, something exceptional. And following tradition and traditional norms is not very much part of that protocol. So, how to navigate, how to preserve tradition at the same time respect individuality and appreciate it. So here, we're getting there. Here we see that Svāyambhuva Manu had obeyed his father and he had welcomed his desire to create progeny, and he is engaging as a very obedient son in the creation. So Brahmā is very appreciative and he's very grateful, and he's showing it by these kind words that he's addressing his son with. And of course the parallel is with the spiritual master and the disciple. That the spiritual master, as we heard yesterday from Maharaj, that the order of the spiritual master is the active principle in the life of the disciple. But sometimes it might seem conflicting. It might seem conflicting. Just like we have the example of Shukracharya, who told Bali Maharaj, don't surrender to Vishnu. This is not good. This is in fact very bad. It's very bad for business. It's very bad for you. It's very bad for me. You shouldn't do this. And what did Bali Maharaj do? He surrendered to Vishnu. And he got cursed by his guru. He got humiliated. But he got exalted as one of the Mahajans. So sometimes you have to break a lesser rule in order to fulfill the higher rule. Sometimes you have to break a lesser rule in order to fulfill the higher rule. That's why being a fanatic and being a cult member or a follower of a cult leader does not work, because you can't just follow ad verbatim, meaning you don't have to just know the letter of the law, you have to know the spirit or the meaning of the law. Just like we're here doing education. So we're learning different mantras, we're learning different procedures, different rituals. But unless and until we actually understand and imbibe the meaning, the purpose behind those mantras, behind those rituals, we will always do the wrong thing. We will become pedantic. You know what pedantic means? It's like you're very fixated on a certain procedure and you think you're going to get a certain outcome. And then you're disappointed if that doesn't work. We have other example. Raghunath, before he was known as Raghunath Das Goswami, he really wanted to get away and join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one night, his priest, he had a priest of the family, whose name was Yadunandanacharya. He asked him to go and talk to one of the pujaris who had given up his service. So he went out, and this was at the end of the night. He went out towards the direction of the house of that disciple, and then he told his spiritual master, don't worry, you can go home, I will go and do it. And then what did he do? He ran, and he took off, and went to join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada writes that he employed a trick. He employed a trick in the service of the Lord. Now, what is the distinguishing factor? It is, are we doing it for our own sense gratification, for our own enjoyment, or are we doing it to increase our service propensity for the Lord? That is the criteria by which we can decide. Now, of course, our minds are very crafty to justify pretty much anything and everything that we do. Have you ever noticed that in your own life? That the mind is very crafty? in rationalizing whatever it is that we think and that we do? Do you have a mind? Yes? So, now we are very fortunate because we're following Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And again, just one of them is not enough. We have to have the combination. And who is Guru and who are the sadhus? The ones who are following Shastra. So Shastra is our praman, Shastra praman. This is our foundation. This is on what we build. That's why we have to train and fortify our intelligence by daily studying Prabhupada's books. Do you have an active plan for studying Prabhupada's books? It's a requirement. So put that on memo to self, message to yourself. Active plan for reading Prabhupada's books. A day without studying Prabhupada's books is a day wasted. Because we will not be able to navigate. We will not be able to make the right kind of decisions when these conflicting situation arises. One time I was in Zurich, I was a young brahmachari. My mom had given me a large donation. And I wanted to give it to my spiritual master. And the temple president was there. And he said, no, you have to give it to me. Because you're brahmachari and you're property of the temple, so whatever you own is what the temple owns, and I'm the temple president. Classical scenario. Rameshwar Prabhu smiles. Seems like you have had certain insights into these dynamics. So, and there was the three of us, and I wanted to make the donation, and the temple president was saying, no, you have to give it to me. But the spiritual master was both the temple president and my spiritual master, and he was the GBC, so he kind of overruled. And I was thinking, what is it to me? You know, I'm giving the donation. It doesn't really matter to me, right? But I was anyway doing sankirtan and collecting for the temple, so what's his problem? Why can't I give this to the spiritual master? So, but it was just interesting to see that dynamic, that tension. And how to navigate in such a situation. Another time, I was in a meeting in 1998 in Germany, and my spiritual master told a group of leading disciples that we're going to go off and do something else. And all of us, except a handful of fanatics, said, okay, that's it, we wish you well, but we're sticking with Prabhupada, we're sticking with ISKCON. Because you trained us too well, we're not going to follow what you tell us to do right now. So that's why we're here studying the Bhagavatam. That's why we're here in Mayapur. That's why we're here absorbing ourselves in devotional service. Now we have heard these verses, we have read these verses, but how do we apply them in our own lives? Just like, for instance, Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. You have heard this one, right? That we're wandering through the universes, through all the species, the 8,400,000 species of life, till in one moment we become fortunate. Some devotee walks into our lives and goes, Haribol, Hare Krishna. I have something for you. You remember that moment when Krishna walked into your life and said, Haribol? You remember that moment? You do, right? It's still there, very vivid. And that's the moment of good fortune. And then, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Beach. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we get that seed of bhakti. Now, what is that seed of bhakti? This is an analogy, right? The seed, the tree, the fruits, the flowers. And it's like a ritual. But what's the purpose behind it? So what is the actual meaning of the seed? What is the seed? This will come up in your exam, okay? So you better pay attention. What is the seed? Faith? Rules and procedures? Somebody else? What is it? What is that bhakti? Pious activities? Instructions? Okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's warm. We're getting there. It's warm. Srila Prabhupada, just a few chapters ago, in the 3rd canto, in the 2nd chapter, in the 6th verse, in the Purport, he gives a very beautiful explanation of this verse, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavana Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Vaya Bhakti Lata Bij. And he says that the seed is taste. The devotee who you meet, he gives you a taste. For what? For devotional service. He says, do this, it's great. And what's the proof of it? That devotee themselves. You remember the first time you met a devotee? You saw a devotee chanting Hare Krishna? Saw a devotee giving you prasad or giving you a book? And you saw, oh, this is nice. This person is happy. This is actually working. You remember? Happy devotees? Not unhappy devotees or confused devotees or devotees who are asleep, but happy devotees. And what's the reaction? Wow. I want to become like this person. I want to meet this person again. That is preaching. This is preaching. It's not about moving a product. It's not about convincing somebody of something. It's not about teaching people rituals. It's about communicating that taste. And yes, it is Shraddha, and it is all the things that you have mentioned. But Prabhupada explains that seed is the taste that the devotee has for devotional service. Also in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th verse, Machita Makata Prana, Boreyantas Parasparam, Katayantas Chamam Nityam, Tushyanticha Ramanticha. In the Purport, again, Srila Prabhupada elaborates on this Brahmanda Brahmite verse, and he says, it's devotional service. Bhakti is not just a sentiment, it's actually something very practical. Devotional service. And that is given by a devotee who is engaged in devotional service. So, we are very fortunate to be here in Mayapur and to participate in these wonderful festivals. Just like yesterday we had Pushyabhishek, which is a beautiful festival celebrating the gopis who they bathe Krishna, they dress him, and then they ornament him with flowers. And Krishna is just like a little doll, and he just goes along with it. Very happy to be treated like that by the gopis. And Krishna is the center focal point of the attention of the devotees. How can we give more pleasure to Krishna? How can we make Krishna more beautiful? We saw this amazing endeavor to create this beautiful outfit that we saw yesterday. You remember? It's like, wow, the curtains go up and it's like spiritual world right there. And it took a lot of effort by a lot of devotees to create this, to orchestrate this, and it was a wonderful example of this unity in diversity, different skills, different mindsets, different abilities coming together to give more pleasure to Krishna. That is bhakti. That is the process of devotional service. And that's what's so attractive. That's why the people are coming to Mayapur. You know, they can eat misti dahi in other places. Did you know that? Misti dahi is available, you know, that sweet yogurt, in many places. But they're coming here to see the unity in diversity, to see all of you. That's why they come here. I was over at the Goshala like every day, just talking to people. And one elderly man with his wife, he must have been 80. He was kind of frail, and he wore a very old suit. And when he saw me, he came up to me and he said, "Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi." And I said, "Radhe Vrindavaneshwari." And then he said, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi. And then we both together sang, Pranamami Hari Priye. And then he gave me a big hug. And I handed him a book. And he motioned to his wife, okay, now is the time, you can give him the donation. And he's a classical music teacher in Calcutta. And he's teaching also devotees in ISKCON Calcutta how to sing for Krishna. And another man that I met, I handed him the book and he was kind of looking at it and looking at me, looking at it and looking everywhere. And I was like, is this going to happen or is this not going to happen? You know that moment of anxiety when you don't know, like, okay, what's next? What does Krishna want here? And I already kind of given up because you know, Krishna is the doer. It's not about how fast you move and how smart you talk. It's really, if Krishna doesn't inspire the person, it's not going to happen. There's the moment of truth, when you've done your part and now it's, okay, Krishna, I'm surrendering. It's your game. And so what did he do? He took off his shoes and he paid full dandavats. And then he got up and he told his son to do the same thing. And I thought, wow, only in Bengal, right? Only in Bengal. Huh? And then you have other people, and they react completely opposite, completely different. And can we handle that variety? Can we see the unity in that variety? It's okay when people throw flowers and sweets and money at us, but when they hurl, you know, insult or contempt, or they just avoid you or ignore you, how do we deal with that? That's also Krishna's mercy. That's also his kindness. So, we have other examples from scripture. As we know, Bali Maharaj, it was mentioned, he disregarded his spiritual master. Prahlad, he definitely went against his parents. And so have many of us. That at one point we had to disappoint our parents and either verbally or just demonstratively disobey their instructions and frustrate their expectations. Now, that is only permissible if we are actually fulfilling that higher purpose of serving Krishna wholeheartedly. So we cannot, in the name of surrender, go out and just do sense gratification. That is not permissible. So here, Svāyambhuva Manu is being a very obedient son, and is very pleasing to Brahmā, and he's helping him in his service to Krishna to create all the life forms and to create progeny, to populate the universe, to administrate the universe. It is very pleasing to Brahmā. And that's why he's speaking very kind words here. He's praising him. And that's pretty much the topic of today. Now, the taste, what is that taste that we're trying to get, that we're always hankering? That param drishtva nivartante, that higher taste. It's not ritual. It's not procedure. It's really substance. What is the substance of bhakti? What is that taste? It is selfless love. It is the mood of Lord Chaitanya, who broke open the storehouse of love of God and distributed its contents far and wide. He told Lord Nityananda, stay in Bengal, don't come to Jagannath Puri. And what did Lord Nityananda do? He went to Puri. Now you may say, how can he do that? The Lord instructed him, stay in Bengal and do your service. But because he had so much love and so much ecstasy and so much affection for Lord Chaitanya, he actually did both. He was able to do both. So this idea of I'm going to play out my cards here, and I'm going to play all the different sides strategically to do what I want to do will only make us lose, will only make us fail. So we shouldn't try to tell our authority, no, I can't do what you're telling me to do because somebody else told me something else. And then that person, we tell them, this person told me this one told me that. So, I can't, I'm just going to go do whatever I want. Which may seem like a very popular or a very practical, a very pleasing assumption, but it's not. It's not. Because we've tried to do that for quite a long while, and it hasn't worked so well. That's why we're very fortunate that we're here in the association of devotees, following the process of sadhana bhakti as Srila Prabhupada has given it to us, without adding and without subtracting. Imitation is not enough. As it is explained in the Tadvidi Pranipatina verse in the Purport, that both blind following and, what's the other part? Absurd inquiry are both condemned. Yes. So we have to make sure that we're not following in either category of blind following or absurd inquiry. And it's not easy sometimes. It's not easy. It's much easier to just go along with the current of things. Have you noticed? You just go with the current. You just go with the flow. But does that always lead you to the right goal? Does that always lead you to success? Not necessarily, right? We have tried. We have tried. And even in a spiritual institution, we have to understand why we're doing what we're doing. Otherwise, it won't be really convincing when we try to explain it to others. Oh, grandma said it is the way it is. That works in certain culture, right? In certain demographics. But in other parts, that doesn't work. Why are you here doing this? Oh, my temple president told me to do that. It sounds like the right answer, right? But it doesn't create the result that you're trying to get. People want to hear from you. Why are you doing this? So these are some topics to reflect upon. And this taste can only be attained by the mercy of devotees. Because the devotees, they have taste. In fact, Krishna is their property. And they can deliver him completely to us. Krishna will only give himself partially, but the devotee will give Krishna fully. So if we want Krishna fully, the full taste of devotional service, we have to go to the devotees. And that doesn't just mean Diksha Guru, because Prabhupada says if we don't honor Diksha, Shiksha, and Vartma Pracharaka gurus equally, then the preaching cannot expand. And that's what we're facing right now. Because we have overemphasized Diksha and we have underestimated Shiksha. And the ones who are doing all the heavy lifting, who are out there doing whatever it is that you're doing in order to keep the institution going. And that's why right now it's a good time to discuss these topics and to see how we can actually upgrade our understanding of the philosophy of Guru Tattva and apply ourselves in the practice of devotional service, so that not in the name of preserving the legacy, we're actually doing a disservice by making it less accessible. I remember I was in Jerusalem in the main church, and there's 4 services going on at the same time in 4 different languages by 4 different groups who were kind of running all throughout the church. Can you imagine there would be like 4 Gaudiya groups here in the temple room trying to hold service at the same time? It's difficult to imagine, right? It's very difficult to imagine. But sometimes it seems like that when you see like different type of interest groups and different type of ideas that are seemingly the same, but it seems to be conflicting. So who can make sense of it all? Achintya kalo ye bhava tangstarkena na yojayet. Krishna can make sense of it all. All seeming contradictions become reconciled in the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord. Krishna is all attractive. All attractive. That means he can attract everybody. Not just me and my kind, but everybody. And it's so amazing to see, like in the last few weeks, there was a big influx of pilgrims. Have you noticed? You've noticed a few people around Mayapur, right? And you see people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds. And they love Krishna. It's amazing, isn't it? And they're amazed to see a guy like me or a person like you. Have you noticed how they just come and stare? Selfie? Selfie? Huh? Selfie? Yeah, you can take a selfie. You buy the book, you get a selfie. No problem. The taste is available. It is factual. And that is what people are looking for. And that's why the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan. Yes, we do temple worship, we do fire yagya, we do meditation, we do all those things. But Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sankirtan is the magic that makes it all gel. And it's a team effort. And we're here to learn. We're here to learn selfless love through cooperation. That's the reason why we're doing all these courses. That's the reason why we're developing Mayapur, to demonstrate and to communicate that Harinam Sankirtan. And then people will come and they will appreciate the miracle of Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva and the sacrifice and the dedication of Srila Prabhupada and all his dedicated followers who have given up their obligations and whatever else that was supposed to be in their charter. They just tossed it out and said, okay, Krishna, I'm yours. I'm going for this. I'm dedicating myself to the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And again, not to relinquish duty and not to be whimsical, but to fulfill the higher calling of pleasing Guru and Gauranga, having full faith that Krishna can reconcile and Krishna can bring closure to everyone. We have a few minutes for comments, questions, and reflections. We have Rameshwar Prabhu and then Sankirtaneshwar.
Thank you. It's always great when a Sankirtan, pure-hearted Sankirtan devotee gives a class. Everyone understands. This is a Sankirtan preacher. So thank you. Hare Krishna. So I was reflecting on this pastime of Brahma about to empower Svāyambhuva Manu to do something unbelievable. And just before he actually empowers him, he says the reasons why. And he gives two reasons in the text. First, because you're sane. And second, because you've gone beyond the limit of envy. I don't know what that means, because we're here in this material world because of envy. How do you go beyond the limit? So I was hoping you might say something about going beyond the limit of envy.
Thank you. Well, envy means that I don't consider I don't consider you or your idea to be really valid because I have a better idea. So I'm envious of your position. Who put you there? Why would you be the authority and tell people what to do? I have my own idea. I have my own plan. That is envy. I envy you taking that position of authority, even though it's clear Brahma is the authority. So Manu, he accepts that Brahma is in that empowered position, and so he is showing his non-enviousness by cooperating with him and accepting his guidance. Have you ever been challenged in your authority? Has this ever happened to you? Like every day of the week, right? And it's not always just because people are envious, but oftentimes it's also because people are just not convinced that we're properly representing or we're properly communicating. So envy is a very debilitating factor. Paramonir matsaranam satam vedyavastamatra shivanam tapotrayonmulanam. So that's why envy and all these other unwanted things get kicked out right in the beginning, in the second verse of the Bhagavatam, because it's debilitating. It ruins the whole, it spoils the sauce. And as you mentioned, sane, nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindya pritya pranoti, nasadumanye yata ātmajair yam asana pikleshada ashadeha, that if we're too much into sense gratification, we become mad. We go puggle, we go crazy because of too much sense gratification. So we're favored by Prabhupada's injunction to follow the 4 regulative principles of freedom, because they will allow us to actually become free from this madness of having to try to pursue sense gratification. Thank you. Okay, here in the front, and then over here, then over there.
Thank you very much, Navina and Nirada Prabhu, for the beautiful class and very relevant to our many of our situations. You know, that sometimes we have conflicts with authority and conflicting orders and so forth. And I said, thank you, Prabhu, for the nice class. I said sometimes it's very relevant because of conflicting orders and so forth. So my question is, rather than, you gave some extreme cases of Bali Maharaj rejecting the order of his guru, or you even gave some personal examples where these are extreme cases, but we also find sometimes that we may have very much attachment for an authority. We may love them. We may feel this person has helped me so much in my spiritual life. I love them. But then sometimes their instructions or their orders may be something that's against Shastra or something we feel we can't follow, not based on sense gratification, but based on trying to please Krishna. And so my question is there a middle ground? We can, still love them, respect them, even follow them if they're right, but at the same time be prepared to do something else if they're, contradicting Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, absolutely. That's why we have Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So when you're not clear on the instructions of Guru, you go to the sadhus, to the practitioners, especially older God brothers, God sisters, and you get good counsel. You say, look, I got this instruction, I don't understand it, how to apply it, what's your take on that? Also, it is perfectly all right to ask questions to the spiritual master and to seniors, not in a challenging or in an offensive way, but just for clarification, for edification. And then you should be getting clarity. I hope that helps. Right behind, and then over here.
Thank you for class. So you was talking about selfless loving action, and I was thinking, how do we develop this with relation to without expectation? So selfless loving action is without expectation of a result, something back. How do we develop that of not expecting something back?
It's kind of contrary to the nature of the material world, right? Because whatever I do, I think like, hey, this going to be what's in it for me. Like people, they go, when they see us do whatever it is that we do, and they say like, okay, so how much are they paying you, you know? What are you getting from this? Friend of mine, Vishwambar in the UK, you know, Italian, but ended up in the UK, Sankirtan devotee, Sankirtan leader. So after one marathon, he was speeding, the cops caught him, and they checked his van, and it was full of money, and so they took him in. They thought like, this must be some drug dealer or some guy who's doing illegal activity. They put him before the judge, and the judge said, so what do you do? And he said, well, we're giving these books, and people give donations. And they say, okay, so how much you keep? He said, no, nothing. I give it all. And then they said, well, what'd you get? He said, at the end, they give me some cookies, you know? I said, cookies? I think you can go home now. It's okay. you can leave. It's all right, you know? He's okay. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudri Danishoy, Krishna Bhakti Koila Karma. We have the full faith that, okay, I surrendered to Krishna, and Krishna's got my back. We done this one, right? The most powerful martial arts move. Then there's another one. It's like this. Hey Krishna, hey Govinda. It doesn't mean that you're going to jump from the roof and then you have wings to fly. But it means that if I truly in my heart of hearts say, Krishna, I'm doing this for you, and I don't have another agenda, because you're my maintainer, you're my friend, you're my well-wisher, and you're the object of my love, then Krishna will give you the intelligence, as he says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10. He will give you the intelligence by which you can come to him. Even though sometimes it may seem obscure and there's too many conflicting options and paths, but he will give you the intelligence. And often it comes through the devotees who we consult. But if I already have my made-up plan and my made-up idea, the way how I want to play it, then I just go to validate my own maya. And I just hang out with people who have similar problems, and that means we're no good to no one, because we're all in the same boat and we're going nowhere. So that's why we're fortunate that Prabhupada has created this ISKCON society, where there's all kinds of diverse people who are practicing the same process and who can actually give us an accurate feedback. Because we may think that we're really cool, or we may think that we're really advanced, or we may think we're really good, where in reality, it might be quite different. Yes? And this is the last one. We got 2 minutes for the close.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a really humorous as well as a very insightful class. I appreciate all the points that you brought out, and I have a question. Srila Prabhupada said that juniors should be very obedient to their seniors, and the seniors in turn should be very affectionate and caring and loving. Now, this is the ideal situation. Obviously, we are striving to reach that ideal. So, in a scenario where you may have a very loving, caring leader, but a whole bunch of rebellious, conditioned souls, what does that poor leader do? That's one. Second, you may have very obedient, very respectful, but the leader may just be, another conditioned soul in one scandal after another, making mistakes, doing all kinds of things. What do the poor followers do? Those are my 2 questions.
Well, both have the same solution. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have to do Harinam Sankirtan. We have to together do the yajna. Not that, oh, I'm a leader, I just sit in an ivory tower and shoot some messages out there and expect things to go right. Or, oh, I'm a follower and I think I figured it out and I don't really consult and get any, consensus from other practitioners. We have to actively seek guidance. It's an ongoing process. It's not, I surrendered 40 years ago. It's now, today. What does Krishna want me to do? And the devotees have a role to play in this. So the process works, and Srimad Bhagavatam is our roadmap. That's why it's so important we read the Bhagavatam every day. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. At least one verse. You go to class, you got one verse. That's a good start. Yeah? If you want to be daring, you do a little more. And you see what it does to your life. All of a sudden, things start making more sense. Prabhupada knew exactly how to give us this process of devotional service in a way that we could actually apply it. And that's why we're trying to be Prabhupada Anugas, to follow Prabhupada's example and to distribute Prabhupada's teachings, because he was very meticulous. He knew how to administer the medicine. He was a pharmacist. Pharmacists are very meticulous people, because if they're not, people die. And that's kind of bad for business if your customers die. So he knew how to give us what we could handle. And that's why we're sticking with Prabhupada. Even though so many people talk so many things and they give so many ideas that all seem very exciting, but it's not practically implementable for us. Grantarachima Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindavevacha Pavitana Pavani.